Go. You always do that.
From the Red Wings to Michigan State, we're talking about it.
So loud.
This is State of My Sports.
Yeah, it is. We're going to talk some Red Wings now. You know me and my Red Wings.
We can pass on the game tonight.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Some little house cleaning, then we'll get into the trade stuff. But Jacob Vrana, first game back tonight. He scored a goal. Very nice addition, and excited to see how the extra depth will really help this team. Obviously, a 9-2 loss to Coyotes is not a good thing. However, this team plays good against good teams and bad against bad teams, and they're just that's not what we're getting into today. It just gives us a nice preview into what this team could be heading into next year. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. It's not worth getting into any of that. But what kind of depth can he bring? That's what I'm very, very excited to see, especially when he's playing with Fabry on line 2 along with some other guys. I mean, it's Pia Suter, I think. This is what the team needs. They need an addition. They need a spark plug. He very well might be the best player on this roster. And I want to see that heading before we get into next year, basically, is where I'm at.
It's exciting.
Another big thing or not really big, but another thing that happened is, help me with his name, Oli Zhoulevi. He was claimed off the waivers from the Florida Panthers. He's a 23-year-old Finnish defenseman that was drafted by the Canucks 5th overall in 2016 at 6'2", 183. In only 33 NHL games under his belt, he has simply not developed the way the Canucks hoped when picking him 5 and the Panthers hoped when they traded for him. Could it be the lack of opportunity? Could it be something else? I don't know. He seems to be excited to start getting some playing time. We'll see how it all plays out. And really what's next? What Yzerman's hoping is basically this guy shows something, you know? And with the release of Danny DeKeyser, potential trades of Leddy and Staal, with the lack of defensive prospects in the minors, this is the guy that's going to get that ice time. This is the guy that's going to get the opportunity to see if he belongs in this league or if it was just a bust, if you will. That's basically where we're at. Pick him up, nothing to lose. He didn't give anything up.
I'm fine with it.
He's not going to be anything near the Mo Seider. He's more of a Gustav Lidstrom type play. That's hopefully he's solid defensively and is reliable and lets the other guys rest and not give up a ton of offensive chances. That's basically where we're at with him. Nothing too crazy. I mean, it's just a piece, but he's going to get some playing time here down the stretch, especially if we can move some of the trade targets that I think that we're going to get into here. Mm-hmm. And if you guys have questions, just jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of roll.
You think it's Oli or Oli?
I like Oli better, personally. So I'm going to say Oli until I'm told otherwise.
All right.
If you're good with that.
We'll find out probably.
Yeah.
It's Oli.
Is it Oli?
No.
I would say
Oli.
until
I was told otherwise.
Oh, well, I mean, like by someone that knows.
His age is great, though. 23 years old. It matches what their system kind of shows.
Yeah, exactly. I think he fits in very nicely with the core, if you will.
6'2", is that a pretty big defenseman or pretty average?
It's on the bigger side.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is definitely what they've
he's
been looking at.
He's a two-way guy. Like, he's a good skater. He can move the puck well, and he's responsible, too. So, at least that's what his draft status was, or like the profile was heading into the draft. Now, it hasn't gone well. It hasn't been great for him. But the lack of playing time could have a big part of that. And like I said, he's going to get playing time because we have nobody else, hopefully, after the deadline, to take those minutes. And we'll throw him to the Wolves, and we'll see if he can float. But what I really want to get into here with this topic was the trade deadline. As we're getting closer, I think was it 2 weeks? I think it's the 21st, right? March 21st. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But what we're seeing is some names being moved or talked about, at least from the Detroit side. So what I want to do is take some of those names and put them in specific categories. That this is all my opinion, nothing else. This is just what I look at here. And my first category is must move. And I'm going to start with Nick Leddy. Yzerman gave up a second-round pick for Nick Leddy in this offseason to be an important piece of the young defensive core. Now, it hasn't been proved. It hasn't been panning out. On paper, his numbers aren't there. He hasn't been anything exciting. But what defensemen can be and should be at times are no-named guys that just go out there and do their job. He's done that pretty well. Like, I don't know the numbers, but the numbers don't matter at this point when it comes to this guy. It's all about how he fits, and can you put him out there and be confident? And he's won a Stanley Cup with Chicago. He's had plenty of playoff experience with Chicago and the Islanders. He's been there. He's done that, and that's the type of guy that people will take a chance on just because, hey, put him as a sixth defenseman, and we don't have to worry about him. He's not going to put up points. He's not going to be aggressive, but he's going to make the outlet pass. He's going to make the right play, and push comes to shove, you can put him out there maybe on the power play. He's decent offensively, but true contenders aren't going to use a guy like that, right?
No, it's just championship pedigree. He's been there, done that. Bring that mindset in.
121 games in the playoffs. And I mean, that's a lot.
I think if you get a second round, like you said, like he has to get that.
Well, that's what we gave up for him.
That's what I'm saying. So if you get that back, though, it would be amazing. That's a good rental because you don't know what he has. Like how he has impacted the guys in the locker room, you don't know that.
Yeah.
But he isn't the new style of defenseman.
Exactly.
And so you put him on a playoff team. I'm not against what you're saying because he could go into some of those situations in tough playoff hockey, which gets a little bit back to normal. Not as I don't know. We're still kind of like learning that as hockey.
But he's not
people,
right? So you said he's not the new type of defenseman, right?
Yeah.
But what he is. What's that?
What is the new type?
A new type
two-way,
mainly one way. Like
jumping.
Offensive mind, great skater, one of the best hockey players on the ice.
Yeah, you're no longer like standing back. When the rush is going the other way, you're flying the zone.
Yeah,
like you're on a rush on a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 or 3-on-2. Yeah,
you're almost like a secondary center mindset.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to look at it. It's like you're just as good offensively as you are defensively. Is what the new school. But what Leddy can bring is the steady guy to complement a guy like that.
Which I think is which I agree with you 100% with the trade. I mean trade deadline to have somebody on your team like that could be huge.
Yeah, I mean look, to be honest,
second round though.
So I look at this, I don't see that happening. Nobody's going to look at Nick Leddy and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a second rounder." But the biggest value that the Red Wings have is or leverage, I think would probably be the right word, is we can eat that salary. So I want to say he's right around, I didn't write that down. I want to say he's $10.5 million. I could be wrong. If someone wants to look at that up on Cap Friendly, you can. But it's somewhere around there, and we can eat a lot of that salary. And that's the key where if, let's say, I'm just going to throw out an example here with like the Edmonton Oilers who might want to get better defensively, but they're up against the cap. I don't know if they are, but maybe they'll trade for a guy like Leddy, and we'll take half or maybe more of his salary, and then it's not going to hurt them against the cap, and then they can get the true pieces that they want. Like that's the key for what the Red Wings are going to do. And I just look at him as a must move, mainly because you gave up a second round pick for him. You might re-sign him, doesn't really matter. I guess that's not a part of the argument, but you traded for him to move him for more, and this is your opportunity to do it. And I'm not saying I don't think it's going to happen, but at the same time, you better get something back in return. That's where I'm just like, must move, even if it's a third round pick or whatever.
Lose the trade if you need to.
Lose the trade if you need to, but lose it by less than what it is if you don't move them. Is basically where I'm at.
I want to see good GMs just swallow their pride and just go, I screwed up.
Yeah,
I screwed up. Move on.
Yep, and that's kind of where I think Yzerman's going to have to do, and I don't think he's afraid to do that.
No.
But you also have to find a buyer too. That's another key to it. Another name on my must move is Vladislav Namestnikov. He's not necessarily a must move because I think he likes it here. He's a hometown guy, and he's a good fit in Detroit. So it's not like a must move, but I feel like this is your opportunity to move him. He had a hot start. He fought some injuries. It hasn't been great, but he's got experience. He's got a little two-way in him that some teams might use to upgrade their third line. In
what line is he for us?
He's been bumping around 2 and 3, and he has had some time on line 1 as well. But it's just responsible. That's basically where he's at, and hopefully somebody needs it. And I'm not sure it's possible. I put him at must move mainly because that's why we brought him here is to try to upgrade that. Similar to Leddy, this is your opportunity. It's your opportunity to get something for nothing. He's cheap. People will trade for him. You don't have to eat the salary. It's a good opportunity to get something. It's not going to break the bank. You're not going to get a huge prospect. You're not going to get a high-end draft pick. It's more of a quantity thing that can move up and get what you want later on is what I look at him.
How old is he?
26, 27.
I got you.
Would you want to hang on to him long term
I
so he could
wouldn't
be the third and fourth line guy?
He reminds me a lot, and I think I brought this up. Maybe this was off air at one point, but he reminds me of Thomas Vanek, where we signed him, we traded him, we re-signed him, and then we traded him. I feel like Namestnikov can kind of fit that piece where we sign him, we signed him, we trade him,
away, bring him
and
back.
then bring him back.
Yeah.
That's where
Hey,
I really
here,
think he fits. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 29.
29. So he's a little older. I don't like care about this pen so much. I don't know why I thought that was a good time to pick it up. Why did I do that? No, Trev, you should have picked that
You've
up.
been like pretty jittery all day.
I have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an espresso before this or something?
No, I had a lot of coffee today, man. I slept I slept awful yesterday.
took speed or something.
It took me.
Looks like you slept
So
great.
I was messing around with the Stream Deck last night, and I was getting so excited for tonight. Like, I can't wait to be like switching scenes and like switching all this stuff. And I'm like, that got me so excited that I couldn't sleep last night. How silly that is that? And then Jordan peed his bed and then woke us all up as well, so that didn't help.
That's
and then
fine.
I just got
normal.
very little sleep last night, so I drank a lot of coffee to get through the day. And
Does
now
that-
here I am, like struggling to
that
even
thing light
stand
up?
still. What's that?
Does that thing light up?
Yeah, it's lit,
Okay.
lit up.
I
What?
think Ryan was in his living room window, and he could see just like blue light and red light. Like
What is
Sam's
Sam
like
doing?
just laying in his bed, just playing with the buttons.
I'm just watching like Red Wings time, Pistons.
So
Lions.
my wife ended up being very curious on that new player's name, and so she looked it up how to pronounce it.
Please be Oli.
Oli
Yes, it deserves to be Oli.
Zhoulevi.
That's a really good name.
Zhoulevi.
Zhoulevi.
Oli
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, I just look at Namestnikov as get
I'm now
something,
a fan.
not nothing. So then my next category is fingers crossed, and I got two guys in here. I got Thomas Greiss and Marc Staal. Neither guy has much value because they're much better goalies, much better defensemen that I think people will rely on, including Leddy. I would assume people would rather have Leddy than a Marc Staal. But just fingers crossed that there's a significant injury around the league that people need depth. That's basically where I'm at. Yeah, desperate. And Staal is a name that I think could become a little more valuable just because of the name.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the Staals. Everybody knows that their history, their reputation. They're
good genes.
They're good, solid NHL hockey guys. And hopefully somehow we find a way to move these guys. They're expiring deals. We'll see. I mean, that's
It's
basically where I'm
amazing
at.
getting value on an expiring deal with such little time left. Like that'd be incredible.
My next category is kick the tires, and the only one here is Philip Zadina. He's not panning out as the 6th overall pick, but he could be a good candidate to move as a player for player swap. You know, like a guy that's not working out in, let's just say, the Islanders organization. That's a bad example because they're not going to make the playoffs. But let's say the Lightning, that he's not getting playing time. Boston could be a very interesting one that he'll be cheaper for them to re-sign, and we could get a better player that's not getting the type of playing time that he thinks he deserves. Similar to like Vrana with Mantha last year. I don't want necessarily to move him because I believe in what he's doing. I believe in the growth that he's had over the last 2 months of the game rather than the start to the year that he had, which was so bad. But I'd be okay with moving on. I think it would be like a bittersweet trade like the Mantha was for me because I really liked Mantha. But then you look at, you know, the going back to Tatar and Nyquist, it's like, yeah, they're good players on our team. But then they're going to go on and not do anything, what does that tell you about the organization? I feel like Zadina could probably be that type of guy where I want him to work out so badly that I'm not going to give up on him yet. But then he's going to move on and not do anything, and you're going to get a better player in return, or better package, if you will.
How about if Yzerman were to Yzerman Ken Holland?
I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, that's a team that has a window. Their window is not. They're not playing well either, So they got to change things up, and these guys aren't getting younger. McDavid, I mean, still one of the best in the league, if not the best. Yeah. But I mean, you got to find pieces that work, and I don't know if that's necessarily a fit.
Ken Holland's been suckered into worse.
But Yzerman has suckered a lot of GMs into worse. And that's where I look at it and I'm like, we could get more. But at the same time, I just don't see where anybody really cares. It's got to be a disgruntled player for a guy that just needs a change of scenery type thing. 1 for 1, move on. Now, again, I'd be okay with him staying. We're not gaining anything in this trade. It's just more or less trying to mix things up.
I want him.
Yep.
I want to keep him.
You want to keep Zadina?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like heading in with Vrana back, bring more depth in, make this team better. How does that work out?
It's like the Jeremy Grant thing. It's like, what do you know? You don't know what you have until all the pieces are there. So let's wait for all the pieces to be there and then see how this looks.
That's a good point.
And jump in if you guys have anything, but I'm going to move on to the next category. Is I put it as stop calling. And what I mean by that is we're not interested in moving these guys unless you're going to absolutely break the bank, which nobody will. I see Filip Hronek and Tyler Bertuzzi as guys getting mentioned that are very unlikely to get moved. They're both parts of the positives that we're seeing here in Detroit, and I think that's really important. And I believe that it's more valuable on the Red Wings than anybody else in this league will even look at these guys. I like Tyler Bertuzzi. I really like Tyler Bertuzzi. I really like Filip Hronek. GMs around the league, in my opinion, don't value them the way that they're valued in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Now, are these guys that I really think are building blocks to make this thing the Stanley Cup contenders that we want? Probably not, because we need to upgrade. Tyler Bertuzzi shouldn't be a top 3 forward on a contending team. He won't be.
Right.
And he doesn't need to be. And that's where we just need to upgrade our talent. Now, I really like Tyler Bertuzzi. And I feel like you're going to jump in and tell me I'm wrong about Tyler Bertuzzi.
No.
Go ahead.
I just think, like, I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I wish GMs would see the value in somebody like Tyler Bertuzzi going into the playoffs. You know what I mean?
I think he would be very valuable.
I think he
really
could be
do.
super valuable on a team. Imagine putting him on a third line or even like a second line in certain scenarios.
I guess the way I look at it is
the way he plays fits a playoff team.
Got to build around some people, right? You got to choose.
Yes.
You don't think
yes
so?
and
Like,
no.
I think he fits into. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think he would fit a playoff roster.
Are you
very
saying
well.
offer him up or keep him for us?
Oh, I would be fine. Like, I would hate to lose him because whatever, but like I do think that if the right offer was there, like why not? Like, I think he benefits a playoff team.
Well, if we're getting a ton in return, sure.
yeah.
But what? Like, is he really like? 'Cause I agree with you, Sam. Like, is he really a massive piece of our rebuild?
I'm starting to wonder if he's not, because he is getting older, and
I agree. I don't think when we go and win, hopefully a Stanley Cup in a couple of years, like that,
yeah.
he's the reason why.
But the reason why I don't want them to move him is because he's not holding anybody back. You know what I mean? We don't have a ton of prospects coming up that he's getting in the way of.
Correct.
Where I'm just like,
I don't disagree.
let's
but
keep him and just
He is the
keep it going.
He is the perfect second line guy.
yeah, we said it about Glendening and
When we have a bunch of super studs that take up the entire first line, he is a great second line guy.
Yeah.
And put pieces around him.
Who are we talking about?
Bertuzzi.
So I thought.
But
What
I
do
mean,
you think?
I want to keep him.
Lucas Raymond.
Come on, guys. Like,
This man loves Lucas Raymond.
this would
Who
be
doesn't?
This would be the same thing as like rushing a rebuild. Just stop shipping all your pieces away. At some point, you
But
got
he's
to
not a
use the pieces
piece.
you have.
See, that's where he might be a piece.
Yeah,
I don't know that
Honestly,
he
might
is.
be. He's
I
not that
don't-
old.
I don't know if he is.
Okay. Name
But he
a
could
piece
be,
then.
so.
Who's the piece?
Lucas Raymond. Most likely. Oh, sorry. You wanted him?
No, the problem is
I think
giving him the
I think
answers.
Larkin's part of that too.
the problem is you cannot have a roster. You cannot have a roster of 21 to 23-year-olds and think that you're going to win.
I agree.
You cannot do that. So hold on to the veterans that fit this team, that provide some locker room type of atmosphere, and invest in them. Keep them until they're 31. Like, you have to have some of these guys that lead the organization. If he's a leader, keep him.
How many times have we screamed the whole Detroit mentality? Every time we have a player leave or come into the organization, no matter who you're talking about, they just scream that Detroit mentality, that blue-collar mentality.
Any sport.
Bertuzzi is that player that you want to have on your team.
I agree. I'm not saying move him unless it's the right piece. What I'm getting at is I think he is the right piece to help a playoff team. It would deserve a lot, but I don't know that we're ever going to get to that point.
But at the same time, is what he does, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And that's where I just look at it is they can do it for cheaper. They can call up a guy and make it happen.
So you're saying he's a piece?
I feel like Bertuzzi can fit multiple roles. I mean, he's fitting a role that really is not even him.
Yeah, if Bertuzzi's one of your leading goal scorers, that's a problem.
Yeah.
There you go. So keep him until he's not.
Until he's not. But then you got to have that secondary goal scoring, which the Red Wings have always been haunted by. But